Good evening, everyone. Welcome to First Church of Religious Science. Welcome to our Thursday evening self-healing class based upon the book, You Can Heal Your Life. I'm happy to see all these people here signing in on Zoom. And for those of you who are in person, or those of you who are joining us on Facebook, YouTube, X, Spotify, your presence, however you're connecting with us, is deeply appreciated. We're grateful to have you be part of our healing space, of our growing community. This evening, we're gathering for our wonderful Louise Hay self-healing class or workshop based upon her transformative work, You Can Heal Your Life. This class is particularly special to me, the Thursday evening segment, because Louise herself was a practitioner here at First Church. This is where she began her healing journey. This is where she began her studies. This is also one of the longest running self-healing groups that I know of anywhere. And it continues to be a space where people can come together, where they can explore self-healing, where they can grow together, and they can learn about the power that they possess. If this is your first time here, I want to give you a welcome. There's time for personal sharing after the lesson is over, so please stay tuned. And if for the rest of you, those of you who come regularly, or some of you have been coming for years, all of you are very important. You're an important part of this spiritual community. In addition to this class, many of you know Jimmy facilitates, James here, our practitioner, our creative living series every Wednesday evening at 7 p.m. also. It has the same links. And then we meet Sunday morning at 10:45 for our meditation, followed by our lesson. So that's what we do, 3 broadcasts a week, all of which you can watch again on it's YouTube and Facebook. So you can listen to us on Spotify. You'll find our meditations there as well. I think we're on all the platforms right now. So it's very easy to be connected with us. Before we begin, I want to express my deep appreciation, again, for everyone, for all you're doing. We get a lot of wonderful messages. Thank you. We try to get back to everybody. All of our gatherings are offered at no cost. There's a number of you who want to support us financially, and we appreciate it. And if anyone does, there are options you'll notice in the chat room to the right or in your chat box, and also on the social media platforms. So let's get into the lesson for today. This lesson is entitled Connection, or Getting Connected. So let me start off with a question for you. Where in your life right now do you feel connected? Is it in your relationships? Is it with yourself? Where in your life do you feel connected? And followed by, where in your life do you feel some disconnect, where you forget who you are? Maybe in a relationship, possibly at work, or even your relationship with yourself. Do you ever notice yourself putting on a smile when inside you're feeling disconnected or anxious or not happy, and yet you're trying to put a brave face on? Maybe you're irritated, or you're still trying to, do your best. How do these moments show up for you? In our teaching, the science of mind, we affirm that we live, move, and we have our being in this divine substance, in this activity. Ernest Holmes, our founder, reminded us that life is always, always responding to us. The universe mirrors the energy that we send out. No matter if it's love, fear, joy, or doubt, it's going to mirror that. This divine power flows through us all the time, and it's our choice how we will use it, how we will direct it. Whether we realize it or not, we're always using this power either constructively or destructively. The beauty is we can choose again at any moment how to direct our energy. So I'm going to ask you, how are you using your power today? And the question for this evening, are you coming from a place of connection? Are you seeing yourself? Are you seeing life and others through the eyes of spirit? Now, what does that mean? Well, if you have this spiritual sense that you know that you live in it, move in it, you have your being in it, then you're going to see everything you're going to be seeing is a reflection of spirit. So are you seeing yourself and all of these things, people, places, and things. This is a subject I've been working with for many, many years. I was part, many years ago, of a great group, a spiritual group, where the facilitator, who was very skilled, would always ask that question. The question again is, are you coming from connection? So I'd like everyone in our group to start getting familiar with that question, because I think it could help all of us, or any of us, as we think about it and reflect on it throughout our days. Am I coming from connection? We learn in this teaching to try to become more aware of the presence. This requires some conscious effort to practice realizing that I live and move and I have my being in this presence. I can remember walking around many years ago when I was learning this, telling myself this, whatever I was going through, I would say, this is God in my life, or this is Spirit in my life. And I would say that all day long. Now, you don't have to do that, but that was something I was doing at the time. It was a little switch that I did. Whenever things could have been very messy, and I would be saying, this is God in my life, whatever it is, because I was attempting to understand that I live, move, and have my being in this divine energy. And another thing I would say in those days, which I think is also pretty good if you can employ it, is I would say everything is perfect. Or everything is a divine order. Everything is perfect. And I would have put smiles on my face just causing myself to do that, causing myself to remember that I live in it and I move in it. And of course, I would say these things when everything seemed to be a complete mess at the time. So this teaching turns out practitioners, in case you don't know that, we practice. You can take courses, you can formally become a practitioner, but you really don't need to do that as long as you develop this consciousness where you're practicing, seeing the good, knowing that you live in it, that you move in it, that you have your being in it. And here's something to say. None of us will ever do it perfectly all the time. But if you're taking the teaching seriously, then would suggest you're always practicing. So it's not about perfection. It's about being ourselves, keep bringing ourselves back to this center and being aware of this presence that's within. It's about taking a moment, taking a pause, inviting the awareness of Spirit in, and then connecting with it, and then choosing to go from that connected place again. So that's our talk tonight, about getting connected. When we take the time, our life begins to expand, and Spirit will respond to us in new and beautiful ways, because you're not coming from the disconnect. You're coming from a place of realizing who you are, in connection with Spirit. So here's an affirmation for all of us. I live, I move, and I have my being in this divine substance. I am always connected to the power of Spirit. So we want to practice this daily, as often as we can. Some of you set your smartphones, your watches, your smart watches. I just do it whenever I know I'm off center. I would say I'm supplied and supported. I release this thought into the nothingness from whence it came. I would say, this is God in my life, all is well. So I keep working on myself. And, again, practitioners practice. I've never seen a person, I've known a lot of ministers who would ever tell you that they are finished. They will tell you they are works in progress. So as we move through life, there will always be moments where we feel this disconnect. And whether it's from ourselves or from others or from Spirit, think of the prodigal child. That's the perfect story for that. We may find ourselves being in all kinds of stories. We create stories in our head. We create people to be bad guys and good guys. We create stories about everything and anything. So when you find yourself, I'll say, lost in one of your stories, you might ask yourself, am I coming from connection right now? And obviously you're going to say, no, I'm not. So energetically, you're always going to know the answer to that question, whether you're coming from connection or not. And as soon as you're aware of what you're doing, you gently and lovingly bring yourself back. Again, as I always say, without any criticism, just bring yourself back to the truth of who you are and what you are. Bring yourself back to the present, where you know all is well, everything's wonderful. The only thing is, you have to have the willingness to do this. You have to have the willingness to do this work. In the olden days, I would say from Louise, never, never, never criticize yourself. So stop all that negative chatter wherever you find yourself doing it. Take that pause, slow down, take a breath, and bring the awareness of spirit back. Get connected. Here's the thing. We're always connected with spirit, by the way, but we do forget that we are. So it seems like, we're out of it, but the fact is, you can't get lost. You can only wake to it. So it's wonderful to learn to take this pause and get recentered. Louise Hay would often encourage us to stop, to take a breath, and ask ourselves, what could I release? What do I need to release? What new thought can I choose in this moment? We're going to trade in the lesser for the greater. So what new thought can I choose instead in this moment? Or my question for you to ask yourself again for today, this lesson, am I coming from connection? Ernest Holmes taught that life is a mirror. It's just reflecting back to us what we think and believe. So it's nothing magical about it. He says it's what life does. If we find ourselves in a situation where things aren't going the way we want or we hoped, it's always an invitation for us to check in with ourselves and with our dialogue. Are we coming from connection? And you know the answer when you ask that question, I promise you. Spirit within will never disappoint you. You will automatically know. You'll know if you're not coming from connection. So then there's always this opportunity to get right back on track. So we want to keep aligning ourselves with this power for good that's always available to us. Let's affirm together. I invite spirit into this moment. Not only do I invite spirit into every moment, I choose to come from connection, and I trust life to respond to my highest good. As we continue to explore connection in our practice, it's important to recognize the limiting beliefs that can pull us away from this connected state. These beliefs often show up in ways that are so familiar that we barely notice them. But these limiting thoughts do shape our entire experience of life. So think about it. How many times have we carried, or how many of us have carried around the belief that we're not very smart, or we're not good, or we're not good enough? Maybe it's from hearing it directly. Perhaps it was some subtle messages you received growing up, or perhaps it's what you tell yourself. Maybe it's when you were being compared to others. Perhaps it was siblings. Being compared to others, feeling like you had to do more to be acceptable, you had to do more to be loved or accepted. It's like being on a treadmill of some kind, always running and never quite getting to where you need to go. Or you might be pushing yourself in relationships or pushing yourself in your careers, hoping to prove something to someone. But deep down, we carry this sense that we're not quite as good as the others, we're not quite measuring up. Louise tells us that these beliefs that we have about ourselves are not who we are. They're just thoughts that we have repeated so often that they become part of our identity. So Louise will say, it's only a thought you're having, and a thought can be changed. And when we recognize what we're doing to ourselves with these limiting beliefs, we can begin to change them. We can take the first step towards, living the positive approach by releasing these things. So let's take a look at a few common beliefs and how they could show up. That whole idea of I'm not good enough is what Louise Hay would say was the bottom line for just about everybody that she ever worked with. And this might have started early, could have been when, in school when you didn't feel like you were doing well, or maybe as an adult you felt like you're always playing catch up with your family, your friends, or whatever it is. You might have thought, if I just achieve this one thing, then I'll be enough. Or if I get this promotion, or if I have this tangible object, I'll be okay. But somehow, whatever it is that you're striving for, be it a goal or a thing, it doesn't feel like enough. Here's another example. Perhaps you're in a job where you're feeling overlooked, underappreciated. It doesn't seem that you're getting the compliments, or maybe you're just feeling inadequate. And so does any of that show up? Or you could be in a relationship always trying to be better which really says you don't feel worthy of love. Have you ever been told that you're too sensitive or too emotional or too loud or too quiet, or anytime you see the word too, T-O-O, when you hear that enough, it's easy to start to believe that you have to change who you are to be acceptable. Or maybe you found yourself downplaying the things that are important to you, or downplaying your opinions, dimming your light to avoid standing out. These are all examples for you to think about. Another one, you could be at a family gathering and you stop yourself from sharing what you want to say. You stop yourself from sharing your joy or a recent success because you've been told before, don't brag or don't boast. Or maybe in a relationship you've cried in front of someone only to hear you're being too emotional. So over time, in any of these types of scenarios, I was trying to create a little list for you, you learn to hold back. You learn to hide parts of yourself. And you shrink to avoid judgment of others. Some of you might not feel like you deserve success, which is another challenge. And if you don't feel like you deserve a good relationship or a good job or anything, this shows up as self-sabotage. You might be working too hard to reach a goal, but just as you're about, again, to achieve it, you hold back or you minimize your success. Maybe you were taught that it's selfish to succeed. Maybe you were taught that you pick that belief that others deserve success more than you do. So there's all kinds of examples. You could get a promotion at work, but instead of celebrating your promotion, you feel guilty, thinking maybe they made a mistake. You can think of somebody who deserves the promotion more in your mind. So you might be downplaying your accomplishment with any of these self-sabotaging thoughts. Or you might say with your accomplishment, well, that wasn't a big deal. Or worse, you could avoid opportunities that will lead you to success because you don't feel worthy. Louise Hay, in all of her different books, will offer powerful ways to shift these beliefs. When we recognize them for what they are, we can begin to challenge them. And when we challenge them, we open up the door to transformation. So let's affirm together. I totally release the need to criticize myself. I simply release it. I release the need to criticize myself once and for all. I now choose to love, accept, and approve of myself just the way I am. I now choose to love, accept, and approve of myself just the way I am. I did a class not too long ago, past month, on owning your healing. And you will do this more and more as you train yourself to come from a place of connection. If you're coming from connection, if you ask yourself each day, am I coming from connection? You start to notice when you're not. You're owning your healing. When we talk about healing, it's not just about physical well-being. Healing's about how you think, how you feel, and how you engage with life. Louise taught us that healing begins with taking responsibility for our thoughts. I've said that about 5 times in this lesson. Healing begins by taking responsibility for your thoughts. It's never about the other person. It's never about blaming. We're not here to blame them. We're not here to blame ourselves either. The people in our lives have always done the best they could with the information, the understanding, the awareness that they've had. And that's true for us too. So we want to give them a break. We want to give us a break. We're not here to condone bad behavior in ourselves or others. But the thing is, we're here to let it go. So if there's any blame anywhere, let it go because it's hurting you. So at last, we realize that we have the power to change our experiences by choosing new thoughts and by coming from connection. As we learn to come from connection, we open up incredible possibilities for transformation. When we shift our thinking, we aren't just changing our minds, we are changing our lives. So how many relationships, for example, I'm going to give you another example, have we stayed in too long, or we've been in that didn't serve us really, where we were probably underappreciated, perhaps overlooked, in some cases even mistreated. We've stayed maybe because deep down we didn't believe we deserved better, we could get better. Maybe you found yourself making excuses in your life for somebody else's behavior. Maybe you find yourself making excuses for someone else's thinking, or saying this is just the way it is, or convincing yourself that a lack of respect or care is acceptable. It's as if you're stuck in a loop, settling for less over and over again, less than what you really deserve as a child of the universe. You settle for less maybe because you fear being alone, or you feel unworthy, or some combination of things. I have one more. You can imagine if you're in a relationship where your partner consistently dismisses your feelings, but instead of speaking up, you tell yourself, again, it's not that big of a deal, I'm overreacting, when deep down you know that you deserve something better or someone who values your voice. You've been in jobs, we've all been in jobs, where we have a brilliant idea and we've kept quiet and only afraid to find our voice. Maybe you were doubting your own capabilities, thinking, what if they don't like it? So you stay silent even when you know you could have contributed something valuable. Sometimes you might think it's easier to stay in the background than risk being judged. But what does all that cost you in the long run? You're not just holding back an idea, then you're holding back your own potential. Let's look at our family and the roles we played for a second. This is another place where we might have gotten stuck with limiting beliefs. Have you ever been labeled in a family as the responsible one, or maybe the troublemaker, or the people pleaser? There's lots of different names in family dynamics. These labels, though, however they happen, can follow you for years, shaping how you see yourself and how other people expect you to act. You might find yourself doing the things out of obligation now rather than joy, or staying quiet to keep the peace because you've been cast in a certain role that doesn't allow yourself to fully express yourself. For example, you're always the one who's called to fix the problems in the family, even when it completely drains you. But because you've been the go-to person for so long, you feel guilty saying no, even when you're overextended or exhausted. So let's affirm together. I take full responsibility for my healing now. I trust the power within me to guide me to my highest good now. So let's release these old family roles and say to yourself again, I take full responsibility for my healing now. And you might release whatever that idea was of that pattern. It's a good idea always to be learning to affirm your greatness. One of the most empowering shifts we can make is to go from that place of not being enough to affirming our own greatness. So many of us hold back because we've been taught not to be too much, or we fear stepping into our full power. We fear if we do that, it'll make other people uncomfortable. But what if we allowed ourselves to be unapologetically great? To be wonderful, as we've said in different classes. You might say, I am wonderful. I love, accept, and approve of myself exactly as I am. What if we embraced our unique gifts and understood that we're here for a reason? We're here to express life, right? That to understand that we're worthy of taking up space. And Louise teaches us that each of us, all of us are wonderful. Each of us are unique expressions of life. Imagine what could happen if you stopped playing small. Imagine what could happen if you allowed yourself to dream big, to act boldly, and to shine without fear or hesitation of what people would think or say. How many of us have hidden our light because we're afraid of what others might think or say, because we didn't think we deserved success, joy, or recognition? Reflect on, I have a couple of things to reflect on. What would it feel like to finally say, I'm enough just the way I am? What would it feel like to step fully into your greatness? Next question. How might your relationships change if you showed up as your authentic self? If you told them what you think and what you feel. How might your relationships change if you showed up as yourself without the need to hide or to shrink to fit in? What opportunities might open up for you if you trusted in your own self-worth? If you spoke up for yourself. I'm not suggesting being aggressive either, but I am suggesting The question is, what opportunities might open for you if you trusted in your own worth so you could speak up a little bit more? If you stop second guessing your ability to create an incredible life. Because here's the thing, life is on your side because all of life is moving within you for you to express more and more authentically. So what do you think could happen if you opened yourself up more and trusted your own worth, was the question. So make mental notes of all these questions, and here's an affirmation for you. You could say to yourself, I am worthy of all good things. I repeat, I'm worthy of all good things, and I embrace my greatness and allow my light to shine. You can put them together or separately. I am worthy of all good things, and I embrace my greatness and allow my light to shine. So as we move forward, let's talk a little bit about when we disconnect. One of the most common ways we disconnect from ourselves and from spirit is by holding on to past grievances. There's a book I love which is entitled, Love Holds No Grievances. So that's a way to be in disconnect. It's just to have a beef, have a resentment. So that's one of the most common ways to mess yourself up, right? By holding on to past hurts and grievances. So this could be a broken relationship, it could be a painful experience at work, it could be any kind of resentment, or even our own unmet expectations. If you have all this going on, you can't say you're in connection because you can't be. These wounds can become heavy baggage that will weigh you down and keep you from moving forward. Louise reminds us that forgiveness is not about excusing someone else's behavior, but it's about releasing ourselves from all the emotional chains that keep us tied to the past. Think about it. How often have you replayed a painful event in your mind, the conversations, the event itself, wishing things had gone differently, only to realize you keep yourself stuck in the same hurt? Forgiveness is a gift you give to yourself. It's the key to emotional freedom. For example, you've had a falling out with a close friend, and even though the relationship ended a long time ago, you still feel the sting of it. There might be some betrayal or whatever it is every time you think about it. Instead of moving forward, which I know you'd like to do, that hurt becomes a wall that blocks you from trusting other people fully. So let's affirm once and for all, I release the need to hold on to these past hurts. I release the need to hold on to any of this. I forgive myself, I forgive others, and I open my heart now to love and to healing. That's a powerful idea. You want to release the need to hold on to grievances, to past hurts. I forgive myself and others. I open my heart to love and healing. So let's take a moment to go deeper together into this idea of forgiveness. You could close your eyes for just a moment if you're comfortable. Take a deep breath. In and out. Allow yourself to settle into the present moment. I want you to bring to mind anything, any situation or person you've struggled to forgive, whether it's someone, wherever they are in your life, or even yourself. Don't get caught up in the details, just bring it to mind. Simply allow this person or situation to come to mind. Now I'd like you to imagine a beautiful, golden, soft golden light surrounding you. This light represents unconditional love, the love that's always available to you. So as you breathe in, let this light fill your heart, softening any tension or resistance that you may feel. Now I'd like you to silently affirm, I am willing to forgive. I am willing to forgive. I release the need to hold on to this pain. I release the need to hold on to this pain. With each breath, feel yourself letting go. Letting go. Imagine the weight of the situation lifting off your shoulders, lifting from you. Imagine it dissolving into the golden light around you. You don't need to know how to forgive. You only need to be willing. As you exhale, release any remaining tension. Trust by choosing forgiveness. You are choosing freedom. Again, trust by choosing forgiveness. You are choosing freedom. When you're ready to take another breath and gently open your eyes, bringing this sense of peace and healing back with you. So let's wrap it up and bring it all back to the idea of connection, living in connection. Let's take a moment to bring everything we've discussed back to the core theme of getting connected. I always imagine like there's a big plug I'm going to plug into the socket. Whether it's through, we get connected by recognizing the limiting beliefs that are there that don't serve us, by releasing them, releasing the past, and always inviting spirit into your awareness, into the moment. The central question always remains, will always remain, are we in connection right now? Please ask yourself that question throughout the week. See what comes up for you. Louise taught us that healing begins when we take responsibility for our thoughts. So once again, I'm asking everyone to attempt to do that. We're always connected to this source energy, and we have the power always to choose how to use it. So let's affirm together, as we're wrapping up today, I know that I'm always connected to the source. I'm always connected to this one energy. I live in it, I move in it, and have my being in it. And I choose to invite spirit into every moment of my life. So I'd like now to open up the floor to all of you, as we do every week, to share what it's been like being you. You could talk about whether you've been in connection or going forward, if you intend to ask yourself that question. Have you been coming from connection? Where in your life have you felt aligned with spirit? Or where might you want to invite more connection in? So we have a couple minutes for everyone to share. I'd love to have people who are new to say hello. You can say where you're from so we can say welcome. So I turn the cameras over to you. Thank you all for being here, and I look forward to hearing from you.